think so. We might want to with the dressing. Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I have 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Hampton.
Here.
Maher.
Here.
Husinga. Here.
John, any changes to the agenda?
Okay, so there are a couple of changes to the agenda. So the first thing that I would point your attention to is the very last item. Item H was added today. Consideration to approve 28E agreement with the City of Mount Pleasant for the school resource officer. I received that 28E last week, and it was after our committee meetings of the previous week. The city would like to get that on their agenda for their council meeting this week. So I checked with Derek and thought it wouldn't be a problem to add that to the agenda this evening. And then just the other item regarding the agenda, item E, approved 2025 concrete bids. There was some mix-up in the communication of the bid documents. The bid documents were actually due on the 14th of May, so not the 12th. So we will we'll open those. We'll receive our bids. We'll receive bids until the 14th. So when we get to this item, I would recommend that we just table that item, and we'll have to come back to that.
So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda with new business item letter H?
Also move.
Is there a second? I'll second. Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Hampton.
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Husinga. Yes.
Up next, we have our student spotlight. We are joined with 2 of our high school English teachers, Jesse Rich and Jackie Wolin. I'll turn it over to you guys. Thanks for coming in.
You're live.
Thank you. As you said, I'm Jessie Rich. You don't know me, and I teach English here. I think this is my 7th year as a speech coach, but I'm not counting. Math is not my day job. As you said, I teach English, but I do want to share some data with you. This year, on the speech team, we had 19 total members. At district large group competition, we competed in 6 events with 15 students. 3 of those groups went on to state competition. We were unfortunately not invited to All-State Festival for large group. At district individual competition, we competed in 12 events with 10 students, 4 of those students going on to state competition, 1 of them being invited to participate in All-State Festival. That student was Sarai Sanchez. This was her 2nd year performing at the All-State Speech Festival, and she is the 3rd Sanchez sibling to do so in 3 consecutive years. She has also been our speech captain this year and one of 12 students in the state to be hand-selected to a student leadership committee called RISE, and she's going to continue doing that next year, which is her senior year. Mrs. Bolin will speak a little bit more about that. I'm going to be braggadocious about the rest of my team. We had something like 15 Division II ratings and 10 Division I ratings in 4 competitions. We had a total of 5 returning speech members, which means that 14 of this year's members were brand new to speech team. 6 of those members were freshmen. It was a year of a lot of firsts. First, we were invited to record our radio broadcasting at KIL Gem Studio. It was first year for me to have my own child on a team. In the first year, we have been invited here to share with you since I've been a coach. And we have three freshman students here with us tonight, Liana Pangchithong and Rachel McWilliams and Luca Moyes. And we're going to let each of the students share a little bit with you some of the pieces that they competed in. And Liana's going to start.
So in each of those types, the large group is the first season that Jesse mentioned, individual follows. There's like 12-ish categories in each one that they can choose from. So Liana's piece is a solo acting piece. So she's limited to only getting one chair. She memorizes her piece, and she has to convey her character. So.
You only need the microphone.
Yeah, we're live streaming, so yes.
Okay. Hi, my name's Liana, and I'm gonna do Self-Image by Willie Reel. So, there's this guy at my school, and this is how he walks. And I'm like, how does your back not hurt after a while? So, he comes up to me. He says the following: yo, there's gonna be this party at my friend's house, yo. It's gonna be hot, yo. So, you want it or what? That's how he asked me out? Like that was romantic or something. It's like he knows 25 words of English and 20 of them are yo. And do you know what the crazy part is? I said yes. I am a sorry ass girl. Boy, I need to work on my self-image.
Liana actually had two pieces with her acting piece, and the second one was actually written by her, so I kind of wish she had performed that one. But Rachel, I'm really glad that Rachel McWilliams is able to share with you tonight because our speech showcase is on Friday, and she is unable to attend, so she gets to perform for you instead. Rachel performed in literary program, which is a mix of, this was for individual competition, and it was a mix of prose and poetry interpretation, and I think she's going to perform her poem.
Hi, my name is Rachel McWilliams. I'm a freshman. This is my first year in speech, and I'm going to perform for you a poem from my literary program performance. It's called 10 Things I Hate About You, from the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. I hate the way you talk to me and the way you cut your hair. I hate the way you drive my car. I hate it when you stare. I hate your big, dumb combat boots and the way you read my mind. I hate you so much that it makes me sick and even makes me rhyme. I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse, when you make me cry. I hate it when you're not around and the fact that you didn't call, but mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit, not even at all.
Her prose piece is from Pride and Prejudice, and it's one of my personal favorites, but you'll have to catch up with her later about that. Luca Moyes, she participated in large group competition and with a short film, and she actually wrote the piece, so I'm going to let her share a little bit about that.
I'm Luca Moyes, and I directed the film with 3 of my friends for large group speech, and it's about kind of like loneliness and how loneliness isn't something that should just be automatically fixed. You kind of have to cope with it. So it's about a girl and her friend moves away, and she kind of struggles with all of the sort of effects that come with loneliness, but instead of just immediately finding a new friend to just replace that friend, she copes with being alone and being lonely and what that really means. Yeah.
And I do think what's neat and what Luca alludes to is that the speech across the state gives us options for students to share stories, whether they're personally writing a piece or performing what someone else has already written. And so for Luca and her team to do that, it's just so neat. and it's available to all students because like that short film was prepared ahead of time. So even a student who participates in wrestling or another activity can still attend those contests because it's pre-recorded. So a teammate can go ahead and present it to the judges. So ultimately, anyone, whether it's from show choir to anything else, can also still be involved in speech because the season does overlap with so many other activities. But I think we firmly believe, both here and across the state, that communicating is such a huge skill that students need. And so I've stolen the microphone a couple times, but I'm Jackie Boland, and this is my second year here in the district, but my 16th year coaching speech, and I'm really a huge advocate for just the program and the contest system and how that all works. And so to speak on Sarai, she's soccering tonight, I believe. She applied last year for the statewide leadership council, and it was the first year for it. And so actually it was the second year. And so they have 12 students across the state, 3 from each district. So the state's divided into 4 districts for speech contests. And so it's a huge honor for her to be selected and then invited back for a second year. And so she's gotten just some cool experiences to both expand her leadership and bring that back, not just for our speech program here, but just student body-wise. So that's pretty neat. And so I've been a district officer before in the state too, to see and help run contests. And then I'm actually beginning a 4-year term as the individual events all-state committee chairperson from Southeast Iowa. So I get to represent Mount Pleasant at the state level with the executive team, the executive director. So that's a huge honor. I'm glad they reached out and asked me, and I was happy to speak with Mr. Stone, Mrs. Rich, and and my husband, and get the okay to make that commitment, because it is big, but making sure students are recognized for that's, I think, so important.
And if you want to hear more of what the students have to share, we have our speech showcase on Friday night. There will be refreshments, and it's in the choir room from 6 to 8 approximately, and all of the students are going to perform. So you're welcome to join us.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Very nice job. Very good job.
Yeah, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is recognition of retirees, so I'll turn it over to John.
Okay, very good. I want to just take an opportunity tonight and recognize 4 of our retirees. These are awesome people, just wonderful people, and wonderful with kids. And can't thank them enough for their service to our school district. Marjorie, would you come up here, please? We're live streaming, Marge, so you gotta come up here. Marge Beckman. 17 years of service to our school district, and incredibly large shoes to fill in our family and consumer science. You've touched so many kids and have given them great skills, practical skills that they'll be able to take with them and use the rest of their lives. So, Marjorie, thank you so much for all you've done for our district. Okay, Kendra Rushell. Kendra, 25 years of service to our school district, and you've kind of done the gamut, from middle school and elementary, and just all of the things that you've done for our district. One of the things that I'll always remember was making a decision right here in this room one night, because it was, the blizzard was coming, but the state cheer competition was coming as well, and you guys got those fans and you went on with it. So you've done so many things, and you've done so many things well in our district, and we just appreciate your service. You touched so many kids, and just excited for the next step of your journey. So thank you very much for all you've done for our district. All right, Mr. Mike Wilson. Mr. Wilson, we go way back.
Yes.
I remember when we hired you away from Waco, and gosh, where did all of those years go? It's gone really, really fast. You've been amazing for our kids. You've touched so many kids through your teaching, through your administration, on the court, on the field. Man, I enjoyed getting to coach with you those years that we did. It was a lot of fun. So I'm super excited for you. You're a huge Panther advocate. I know you're going to be around and doing different things, but we just appreciate you a lot and wish you the very best. And Michelle Peterson. Who'd have thought, Michelle? 31 years of service to our school district. Wow, just amazing. And all middle school art, right? Yeah, so again, kind of like Marge, the opportunity for kids that you provided for kids to those talents that they didn't even know that they had, and discovered right there in your room, and the thousands of kids that you have touched over the years, both you and Mike, your family, just lifelong educators, and we just appreciate you so much. I appreciate our relationship with you and the MPEA. It's been just really solid for our district, and we will miss you. Thank you very much for your service to our school district.
And thanks again to our retirees. And up next on the agenda is school board member recognition.
Right, yes. May is School Board Member Recognition Month. Should I play the video first? That'd be good. Okay.
Miss Emily, Miss Marianne, Chef Walker, Miss Wilson, and Well, those are a few of the reasons right there that you guys do what you do. And it's quite obvious it's not for the pay, because there's not any, This is a totally volunteer job, and you're under scrutiny all the time, and tasked with really, really high level and oftentimes difficult decisions. And I will say, you guys, over the last, we've been really working hard. We've worked hard over the last 18 to 24 months on a lot of different things, and I just can't say enough about the time that you guys have put in. You just put in so much time and so much effort, and you ask amazing questions, and always with the students in focus, and trying to make the very best decisions that we can make based on data, based on what we have at hand to look at, and trying to make those great decisions for our students. So as a superintendent, I just can't thank you enough for all that you have done and all that you continue to do. And I just want to reiterate and say it again, you know, all of this is done completely volunteer. Yes, you completely volunteer. However, you know, you have to be elected, so you have to run for the position, and then, you know, and then as a volunteer, then you should subject yourself to a lot of scrutiny, a lot of public scrutiny, and you guys have done an amazing job, and we'll continue to try and make great decisions for our school district and for the kids of our school district. So, just a few facts about Iowa school boards. K-12 school boards. Iowa has 325 school districts with 5 or 7 member school boards. School board members are elected by their local communities in an election held the first Tuesday of November. However, we have an election coming up tomorrow for a vacancy. They may be elected at large or from director districts and serve 4-year terms. And we have both. We have at-large members, we have director district members, but as a community, we vote at large. So everybody, if you live in our community, you can, and you're an eligible voter, you can vote for a school board. So if you do the math on that, 1,845 school board seats in the state of Iowa, 52% of those serving have served 0 to 4 years of service. 25% are 5 to 8 years of service. 13% are 9 to 12 years of service, and then 10% are 13 plus years, 13 or more years of service. 250 of those 325 are 5-member school boards, and 110 of those boards are 7-member boards like we are. The student enrollment in Iowa in this school year, certified enrollment, just short of 500,000 students, 480,665. So you guys are making decisions on behalf of course, our students, but statewide, board members are making decisions for the good of students. We're almost 500,000 students. So, and it is the lion's share of the state budget at just over $7 billion of total general fund revenue. So big decisions are made by locally elected officials on school boards. So, yeah. So, Aaron, thank you very much for your service. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you very much, John. Up next on the agenda is citizen comments.
No one contacted me to speak to the board.
So we'll move on to approval of minutes, claims, and financial reports. I'll hand it off to Jessica.
Okay. And by the way, we did in our finance committee meeting, not this past Friday, but the Friday before,
our practice is that we go through expenditures at that meeting, individual expenditures. So if board members have questions on individual expenditures, we can look into those questions or get answers for those. So this is the higher level financial for end of the month.
Yes, and this is end of the month of April. We're always 1 month behind. So this column right here represents where we were 1 year ago from today, and then where we currently are. And I would like to note that these do include our April property tax revenues. So those are all included in our final numbers. We're increased in general. We're increased in student activity, increase in management. PEPL is a little of a decrease, and to remind you, we can use this money for any capital projects that we want to do, or we can use this money for technology. Our capital projects right here, it can be used for the same purposes as PEPL, and we are down here too because we have been busy doing projects throughout the district for the past couple of years. Debt service, to remind you, this is where our Apple lease goes in and out of. Our Apple lease will officially begin July 1st. The first payment will not be and a couple months later because we have a buyback. So we won't have a decrease in this for a few months because we have a lot of devices that was built into the new Apple lease that we'll be entering, that we actually get a portion of money back to go towards our payment. And the nutrition, again, going in the right direction. I know that's weird to say because it's going down and we think that that's the right direction, but it is. We need to spend these funds down. This is due to the federal government giving us a lot of money for supply chain assistance, and different times during COVID, they gave schools all over the nation different pots of money to help us get through that time. So we'll go to the other one. Okay, and this is where we're sitting right now with our non-major funds. So the general fund is not on here, but we have student activity management, PEPL, everything except for general fund. In the management, I wanted to point out, right now we're at 98.61%, and that's exactly where we should be because all of our insurance premiums have been paid. PEPL, we are still spending this down. I anticipate this to be at 100%. Because, is this revenues or, okay, this is revenues. So I guess what I want to say about this portion of the spreadsheet is all of our revenues pretty much have been received. We're now in May and this is budgeted through June 30th. So everything that we budget is to help out is on the low side. So we are sitting very, very well. And then over on the expenditure side, when we sit down to do our fiscal budget, we want to budget those high so they kind of equal out. Right here in student activity, we're almost wrapped up for the year and we've spent 74.16% of the amount that was budgeted. Then we go down to management. Again, that should be it for the year unless we have just a couple of things come in and out of it if we happen to have a worker comp claim or something. Then we have our PEPL, which that is what we're using right now to pay for the RTM building. We will use some of this, I assume, to pay for Wisdom Quest. We will have technology expenses to come out of this. Then we have capital projects. I can report that Chad, he's been here the last couple of months and went through his list of summer projects that he wants to do. And those are, he's getting materials and some of them are actually started. So that's good. Then we've got nutrition down here, and the expenses for nutrition so far this year, $863,000, which is only 66.26. But again, we budget high on these things. So we are very, very in a very good place in all of our funds right now as far as the budget's concerned. this is where we are percentage-wise with revenues, and that's where we are percentage-wise with expenditures at this point, with only one more month to go, about a month and a half. So, does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
I had something to speak on. Not in regards to this, but it was kind of skipped over quite fast. It's not, and I didn't know the procedures of how to meet beforehand in order to speak on this.
Yep, so if I could go ahead and take that. If you do have something to speak to the board, notify the superintendent the Friday before the board meeting. And right now, we have an approved agenda, so if we do anything different, we're out of order. So I'm sorry, but we're gonna maintain.
Part of the approved agenda, but I was supposed to be allowed to talk.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, the public.
So right now, again, you're out of order. Does any board members have any questions for Jessica?
There was school policy broken today, and I'd like to speak on it.
If we have any questions,
Away
is
from
there?
school grounds without my written permission. I'd like to speak on that.
Yeah, I will contact you tomorrow. We will contact you tomorrow
I'd like to know
about
what the board intends to do on policies around student and parent
Yeah.
permissions.
that. We will contact you tomorrow. I know you contacted Mrs. Sands. I saw the email as well, so we'll follow up with you on that tomorrow.
The principal did not know that
And that's,
the kids were being taken off school grounds. This is a very big issue,
Okay.
and you're jumping over it, but you don't want to.
No, we're not jumping over it, Trent.
You
We,
know my name, so you knew I was going to be here. You saw the emails, and you skipped over it as fast as you could. I work for this district. I respect out of this district, and you just skipped over me like a fly. And that is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. I'm leaving. My child's safety, and you're going to skip over it like that? Or from the district.
so back to approval of minutes, claims, and financials. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Is there a second? I'll second.
Mullen,
Here. Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Hustenka.
Yes.
Up next on the agenda, we have reports. So we'll start with instructional services, Title I reading. Thanks for coming up.
So Kelly, flip the switch on the bottom of that microphone.
Hello, everyone. We are the teachers that make up your Title I services in the elementary school. I'm Kelly Bergmeyer.
Heather Duncan,
Chris Hatfield.
Amanda Reynolds,
Kim Sherwood from Lincoln.
This is the rhombus. It's our multi-tiered instructional support, and Title I is over in Tier 3.
Next slide, please. So the tiers are the way that we provide layers of education and support to our students. Tier 1 is what's done in the classroom. It's what you might hear us refer to as CCALA, that's the reading program that we use at the elementary school level. And then our Tier 2, that's additional group support that we provide in small groups, or that's provided by the teachers. And let me rephrase that, Tier 1 is provided by the classroom teachers as well. There is some intervention that's done by the teachers in Tier 2. That's in addition to their core education that they provide. And that material usually comes from their CKLA, so it's in line with what they're doing. Tier 3, that is included with Title I teachers. It would be your ELL teachers, special education teachers. Who else am I forgetting? In the reading scope, it's those areas as well. We also have Tier 3 in the math area as well. It's covered under Title I.
So to choose Title I reading students, we have to use our FAST screener. And so for K through 3rd grade, we use the FAST screener. And then this year we were given the ISAST scores. And so 4th and 5th graders were also chosen based on their ISAST scores. So these students who get Title I services, they need core, which is Tier 1. They're also expected to have Tier 2 done by the classroom teacher, and then they're seen by our reading interventionist for a more intense instruction for Tier 3.
Okay. Currently, our Title I reading teachers, there are 4.75 teachers. Harlan and Van Allen each have 1 full-time title reading teacher. Lincoln has 2 full-time reading teachers, and Salem has a teacher who serves title reading, Title I math, and special education. The program as a whole serves grades kindergarten through 5th.
So like Heather said, we serve students K through 5, and we mostly focus on the areas where there had a gap in their learning. In kindergarten, the major areas of focus are their letter sound knowledge, phonological and phonemic skills, like blending sounds, and beginning reading skills, because we want to prepare them for reading. In 1st grade, then moving up through 5th grade, they start following some more advanced phonics skills as they're moving along, starting with the scope and sequence of what is typically considered to be a sequential order of the skills. So if they don't have like a skill at like level A, then those students get skills taught to them at that level before they move on to the other things. And so a lot of times we do work on things other than what they're doing in the classroom, but it's to help them be able to access what they have in the classroom. And as they're moving on, hopefully we get to where they are able to do their more advanced phonics skills like syllabication and fluency as well.
So for ideally to provide intervention, research supports that we should be doing it in small groups. So we try to have our groups be as small as some cases in a unique situation, it might be just 1 student. Otherwise, it's students of 2 to 6 groups. And those groups have been increasing in sizes as our needs have become larger in the district. And our average group time is about 15 minutes. This year at Lincoln, Kim and I were able to co-pilot co-teaching program, and there's a lot of research in Hattie and specifically about the effect size of doing co-teaching in the classroom, and it's been pretty amazing what we've been able to do and to walk side by side with our teachers and help support them in the curriculum that they're providing in the classroom, and then pull back and do some small groups as well. And we've seen a lot of really good results. We'll know we're just finishing up our testing, so we'll see that from there.
I'm starting Harlan.
So at Harlan, about end of February, I became full-time at Harlan. I was at Salem and Harlan, but currently I have 11 groups and I serve 28 students within those 11 groups. But I also have started co-teaching in some of the classrooms, in 2 classrooms, so I end up helping affect 36 more students.
At Lincoln, I see 11 of those small individualized groups serving 43 students, and I co-teach in 2 classrooms, reaching 41 students.
I meet with small groups in the morning, so I have 9 groups with 44 students total. I then co-teach in the afternoon in 1 first grade classroom and in 2 second grade classrooms with a total of 60 students.
Okay, at Van Allen, I have 18 groups and I have a total of 82 students.
I'm at Salem, and I have 11 groups, and I work with 23 students, and I'm also maintaining IEPs for middle school.
As we've alluded, because of the increasing caseloads, groups are typically 15 minutes, which is down from a few years ago when we were able to serve 30 minutes. Of course, kindergarten, we only did about 10 to 15 anyways, because you can't keep kindergartners focused for more than that long anyways. But, so as you can see, the asterisks are the ones where they don't include the co-taught. So total, in town, I see 28 kindergartners. Salem sees 3 for a total of 31 kindergartners. In town for first grade, 55 students are seen and 2 in Salem, so 57 first graders. In town, 32 second graders, 8 down in Salem for a total of 40 second graders being served. Third grade has 42 students and 7 students for 49 students served. Fourth grade has 28, nobody in Salem, and 28. Fifth grade has 12 and 3 students in Salem for 15. I didn't do the math, but that's a lot of kids we have to serve. And that's one reason why it's 15-minute groups, which we would like it to be longer because we could then dive into more of what the kids need. All right. As they alluded before, a lot of who we serve is based on fast, persistently at risk. And this was coming down from the state. First it was the ELI, but then they added on House File 2618. So even though we were already serving the persistently at risk, not all the times can we see all of the persistently at risk just because of the sheer numbers. So we try and figure out who is the most need. We try and serve the ones with the most need. And it looks like this slide got a little skewed. So I'll try and explain it. So the ways we serve to meet this file is through Title I or co-teaching, special education, and ELL, and then the regular classroom teacher. So the students that are persistently at risk that we are unable to see, that are being seen by the classroom teacher at Harlan, there are 10 students being served by classroom teacher. Lincoln has first grade with 9 being served by the classroom. Second grade has 5 students being seen by the classroom. At Van Allen, there are 17 students being seen by the classroom teacher for 4th grade. 3rd grade, she was able to get everybody in, amazingly. And then 5th grade, there's 23 students being served by the classroom. And then down at Salem, there are a total of 8 students being seen just by the classroom. So there's several students that, while they could qualify for Title I, just because of sheer numbers, they are being seen by the classroom teacher. So the classroom teacher has to do their Tier 1, their Tier 2, and the Tier 3 part of it. So they're quite busy.
There's a lot of good things going on with Title I. The district has invested a lot of money, and you have some very highly qualified reading specialists that are standing in front of you. We've got really great programming. The teachers are currently going through letters training, and the programming that we use, 95% group primarily, is right on board with what letters is saying. And we're like Amanda said, we're able to serve most of our students that are in need of that Tier 3 intervention. It's those students that we're not able to serve, that's That's the concern. And whenever we present it to the board, we've been sure to bring this up to you. It was a few years ago that we went from serving first, second, and third grade with 4 teachers. And then a few years back, then we went to serving kindergarten through 5th grade, and we still have 4 teachers that are still serving all of those needs of students. This year, we've added another quarter-time position to be able to help us with our needs at Salem. Oftentimes, Title I is kind of the last door before a student looks at receiving an IEP, an individualized education program. So the more, and with an IEP comes a lot of legislation, not legislation, but a lot more legal pieces to it, the documentation, and a lot of meetings. So we feel like we're a good bargain for your money, that we provide highly intensive programming for the students. We wanted to make you aware of the students we're not able to provide that intervention to, and also just let you know that we're doing our darndest to meet all of our students' needs.
So in conclusion, the primary focus of Tier 3 instruction is to fill in the gaps for the students' knowledge or skills in order to bring them up to grade level. And this is usually best done and accomplished through focused, targeted small group instruction provided by yours truly. So thank you very much. And does anybody have any questions for us?
I do. So more teachers for this position, right? Okay, that's number one. Number two, is space an issue?
Yes.
Physical space within the buildings. Is it every building or is it just some buildings in particular? Can you elaborate on that?
Mostly the problem.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Mostly the problem with space is at Lincoln right now. Like, I have my own space at Harlan. Heather has her own space at Van Allen. Chris, well, you still get it's somewhat, there's a divider of file cabinets. It's not perfect because it's not a closed wall room, but it works. Ms. Chris down at Salem, she has a space, but Lincoln, poor Kim, she's shuffled all over the building trying to find space to hold her small groups.
So we have one person that has a dedicated classroom? Or two?
Well, I share a room with somebody else, but so a specific 4-wall classroom, there's Kelly has one and then Chris has one.
Kim offices out of my room, and so when she meets with groups, then she needs to find a place. And some days that's the art room, some days it's the gymnasium, or some days it's the music room, tag room. So she has a bit of a schedule that she's able to. But yes, space is. I've always said I'd like to have a spiral staircase up to the attic to have a classroom up there, and then.
At Salem, one day per week, music comes into the library as well. So working with students while music is going on is distracting for the students.
And the ideal time that you guys would spend with students would be back up to that 30 minutes?
Yes, that would be the ideal time. Our program that we use, 95% group, actually recommends 30 minutes, and actually Letters recommends 45 minutes. So obviously kindergarten's different, but it would be nice to see them more, because then we're not getting going and then all of a sudden, oh, we gotta stop, because a lot of times that doesn't include the entire 15 minutes, because you have to go pick up the students and then bring them to your room, get settled, and then go back, take the kids back to the room. And sometimes they're not ready to leave the classroom when you're ready to take them.
Are we talking one additional staff member would be helpful, or 2 or 3? To get that time?
Well, I know Van Allen could probably use another staff member for sure. It would be nice to have, obviously, more staff members. 1 or 2 would be great. 1 would be very helpful, 2 would be ideal.
Thank you.
So this is one of our programs that I don't know much about. So a lot of what you have said tonight, I'm going to keep in my mind and bring up when we can. So thank you for all your work, first off. The numbers you brought up, very high in the lower grade levels. Students graduate from this?
Yes and no. Sometimes they, like, for example, down in Salem, there's 4th graders that are persistently at risk, but when I gave them our diagnostic survey, they passed that. So it's not a phonics issue. Theirs is just a speed issue. And sometimes with the state focusing so much on words correct per minute and trying to get them up that high is a little absurd, because really the Iowa Reading Research Center just recommends 120 words with 95% accuracy to be a good comprehension reader. And fast, like in 5th grade, is expecting them to read like 150 some words per minute, 160 words per minute. And sometimes once they get up to that, they just can't get that fast, because then they're losing out on the comprehension piece.
Also, if the students sometimes are no longer in our program, it could be because they've gone on to receive individualized education programs, and we try to double up on those services as well with our ELL, but that's not always feasible, time scheduling, issues like that.
So with the change to grade-alike elementaries, has that been a benefit to your program, or not much change?
I would say at 1st and 2nd grade, it's been a benefit. We've been able to co-teach and do more collaboration and have a deeper understanding of the strengths and the weaknesses of our CKLA programming due to the co-teaching. And therefore, when we're looking at our groups, I think we have a more equitable service that we're providing for all of the students, so that all of the 1st graders, without including Salem, but all the students are in the same building. So when we're looking at the data, we're looking at the same data on the students. So from that standpoint, I think grade-alike has been a strength. What are your thoughts?
Scheduling has been a little tricky, especially since, like, when I served Harlan and wasn't there all day, I could only pull the kids in the afternoon, but math was also pulling students, and special ed was also pulling students, and ELL was also pulling students, so it was hard to get the kids for the time, because they would come to my room, then they would go to ELL, then they would go to math, and then maybe they go back to the classroom, and so that made it very difficult, because while it would be ideal to have all the interventionists at one place at the same time, for the kids, it's just too much for them, and scheduling is a nightmare.
Any other questions?
I too want to thank you for everything you do in helping all of our kids in our school. With the high number of students that you have, how frequent do the groups meet during the course of a week?
I meet with kids, Fridays are weird, but for the most part, I meet with kids 5 days a week.
And when you meet with them 5 days, is that 5 days of instruction, or do you do progress monitoring? So it's 4 days of instruction with 1 day of progress monitoring. Kim's and my groups, if I can speak for you, Kim, we probably average 3 to 4 days a week. We try to progress monitor outside of that instructional time, but again, due to scheduling is really tricky at the elementary level. So due to our days and Thursdays or Fridays, that impacts our schedules as well. And Heather, are you able to meet 4 days of instruction?
With 3rd grade, 4 days of instruction and 1 day of progress monitoring. And 4th and 5th grade are only progress monitored every other week. So that's a little bit different situation. We don't have to progress monitor every week.
My schedule is chaotic. I get K through 5, except for 4th grade at this time, and There's times when there's groups that I can get, like maybe 2 groups, 3 times a week with 1 day progress monitoring. Some of them are like maybe 7, 8 groups, 4 days a week, 1 day progress monitoring. And then, to be honest, Fridays are super hard for us, and it would be great just to have 1 whole day of PD instead of every Friday, because of me pulling students for special education, math intervention, and Title I. And we're all doing it, and yeah, we do our best that we can.
I did want to mention, and I didn't put this in my concerns, something that does impact our ability to serve students is 2 primary factors. First of them is the shortage of subs. Because when a classroom teacher is gone, the classroom has to be covered. So frequently we are pulled, and it's equitable, it's fair, it's a rotation within the buildings, but we might be pulled once or twice a month at Lincoln to be subbing, and sometimes more frequently at Van Allen. And you haven't had to be at another thing that we're a part of is our help in facilitating and assisting students when they're dysregulated, especially at Lincoln. We're part of a team that's having a lot of success and bringing down the numbers of students that are dysregulated, but that often means that we're not able to meet with our groups because we're helping with a student that's dysregulated instead. So those, even though we have highly qualified teachers and tremendous materials, there's some barriers in our way. You know, when you look at the numbers, know that that's not the real picture of how often we're able to meet with our students.
Do you project the numbers to go up?
We just got finished with our FAST assessment, and I'm really hopeful with what's been going on with kindergarten. Amanda being there now full-time and doing her co-teaching, these kids are coming on really strong, coming to us in 1st grade. And that's where catching them early and providing intervention early is the best plan that we can have to help our students with reading. So I'm very optimistic for this kindergarten class upcoming.
Just a couple quick questions. So are the FAST scores the predominant assessment that gets into this?
So we think about FAST as like taking a temperature, or your engine light goes on in your car. It's an indication that there's something that's causing the student to not be able to read smoothly. And that's for 2nd through 5th grade, because being able to read at a fast enough rate that you can comprehend what you're reading, that's what the FAST does. They set a score in the fall and in the winter and in the spring. And so if those students don't meet that, just like if your child presents with a fever, then you assess the situation. You know, is it a stomach bug? Is it strep throat? So you run diagnostics, and that's the assessments that we do to determine. And Amanda talked about that a little bit. And so there's a hierarchy of skills, starting with being able to blend and, put the sounds together and take them apart, and then recognizing that sound is connected with that letter, and then blend them together and take them apart. And then it goes on up into higher skills, like comprehension. And the research shows that there's less, it's leaning a little bit more towards that comprehension piece and that vocabulary piece playing a role with reading and reading fluency. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Who conducts those assessments? Is it the classroom teacher, or do you guys come in and do the FAST?
Just this year we were charged with us administering the FAST assessment, and that's been done because then it's done with fidelity, and I think it lends to the professional learning communities to not have to worry about that when they're having conversations about the data. They know the data is the data.
Sure. Is there a familiarity component to that as well? Do you think that kids perform with reading with their classroom teachers any better than instructors that they only see every once in a while? This is just curiosity.
It's a good question.
It depends on the student. So like when I set the schedule for Harlan and Salem, I took into account which students am I familiar with, which students do the teachers know struggle with change, and I made sure that I had those students. I believe Kim and Kelly also considered that, and we also decided that whoever we started the year with, we kind of stuck with them for the whole year. Granted, there were some hiccups along the way because maybe a student moved in and maybe they didn't get caught, but for the most part, we tried to keep it the same as possible, and also the teachers prepared the kids as well.
So when a student has been kind of flagged or identified as having a lower reading score, they're also progress monitored weekly on a very similar, so it would be a different passage, but it would be in the same method that the FAST is given. So if we look at their FAST assessment and we see that it's vastly discrepant from what they've been showing us in their weekly progress monitoring, then we know we might need to look back. That score can be deleted and we can do something else. Just like a child might be sick that day when the FAST assessment is given, it's one picture of that child a day. It has been a concern, but I think that the overall benefit of administrating this way is worth it.
If I could also say, one thing that was really kind of cool is we went through and we tried to give the students that we had. So I taught third grade at Harlan for 20 years. So they gave me a lot of the Harlan kids, so they were very familiar with me. And then I think the kids also saw it as like they were so excited to come in and test. Like we were at Van Allen today, and I had a 5th grade boy. He came in and he's like, "I'm ready to go. I've seen you 2 times." And he was like so excited to meet his goal, and he did. And so I think he looked at it like this was like an official test, and so he was doing his absolute best. Now that would be the older students, but I saw it as a benefit.
And not to drag this on even longer, sorry, I'm taking a lot of your time. How much of this component, like Title I as a whole, is connected to the Department of Ed, both at the state and federal level? I mean, do we receive any funding?
Angie would better benefit from that, okay. But most of it is through the federal program Title I. So luckily, the new the government isn't thinking about getting rid of Title I right now with all the budget cuts, but we would be in a world of hurt if we didn't, because there's 4.5 teachers you now have to try to pay for.
That's kind of where I'm getting at. I had concerns about that because I knew how much Title I was built into that. So I'm also concerned if it goes away.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he leaves it alone, or else you're going to have a lot of really ticked off people.
I'll be right there with you. Thank you all so much.
Kelly, how much of your time, each of you, a day is spent with those behaviors or other things that are not the focus of Title I?
Depends on the day of the week for me, because I'm a BLT.
Can we do more of a weekly average then maybe?
Can we get back to you with that? Because we've tracked some of that. Would you say?
I'm not.
But you've also been on the response team.
I don't know.
It depends on the day, and it depends on the day of the week. Fridays when I'm the BLT person, so that means I'm the building leadership team. And if our principal has to be out of the building, then when a child is to the point where he or she might need a principal, then I'm the person that gathers the information and decides what to do next. I would say an average of 15 minutes to a half an hour probably each day is a low estimate. On Fridays, it can be 45 minutes to an hour or two. And that BLT position is now rotating between the other leadership within the building. And that's been in place since about February, I believe. So that's allowed me to be serving the students Monday through Thursday and not be that BLT person.
Is that kind of the same for the rest of you, or does that look different?
That's just for the teachers at Lincoln. We help on the regulation response team. But Heather has seen some loss of instruction time due to subbing, though.
There's a rotation, so there's 4 of us that are studying at the end. So we have a rotation, so it's not like every day. So there's 4 of us that do get full
Not
vacation.
every day, every week, every couple weeks?
Lately it's been just a little bit more. I think it's because of the end of the school year and some other things going on, but it's been more lately, the last month, than it has been previously, I would say. I haven't tracked.
First ones get tapped for a sub, and a sub does not sign up.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, the rotation is usually the ELL teachers, the math intervention teacher, the Title I teacher, and then if there's another teacher, the para, and then if there's any paras in the building. At Lincoln, it's about once a month is all we have to be pulled for the whole day.
Okay, thank you.
But you've definitely given us a lot to think about, and it's great to hear the successes from the program. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Up next, we have the superintendent's report, so I'll hand it off to John.
Okay, so first thing on there, school board special election is Tuesday, tomorrow. So the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. One polling place, Manning Hall at St. Alphonsus Church on South Jackson Street. So we'll have preliminary results tomorrow evening. Of course, there will have to be a canvassing of the votes. I have not asked the auditor when they plan to canvass, because that would determine when we seat the new board member. So there is a span of time for seating that new board member. We don't meet until June because there is no work session in May. So we may have to come together, have Jessica, just give the oath and seat the board member like that, and then first meeting would be in May. So baccalaureate and senior awards are on Wednesday, 6:30, high school gymnasium, and then the awards assembly should start around 7:15 that same evening. Class of 2025 graduation is this Sunday, May 18th at 2:30 p.m. Let me know, please, if you plan to attend graduation, because we will reserve seating for you. Generally we meet at about 2:15 in the high school office, and then we'll file in ahead of the graduating class. Number 4, the mentoring colloquium we have on May 14th. That's this Wednesday right here in this room. The elementary mentees will present their learning for the last 2 years at the colloquium starting at 3:45 on Wednesday. And then Thursday, the secondary, middle school and high school mentees, they will present their learning right here at 3:45 as well. So you are definitely welcome to come to the mentoring colloquium. Just wanted to mention, I thought we had a great SIAC meeting on Wednesday. Can't say enough about our SIAC team. I said today on the radio, it's Wednesday in May, and all the things that you could be doing, and we had 35 to 40 people here at SIAC. So I want to thank our SIAC team members. Number 6, student handbook review. That is June 5th at the policy committee meeting. We'll start the meeting with that, and I've asked the principals to be in attendance for that because you had some questions on how discipline policy or discipline response to behavior, I will say, is done with consistency. So they will be there on June 5th. June 6th, we have the Finance Committee meeting on that Friday. We have a property and casualty insurance renewal at that time. Joe Venz, our insurance representative, is going to be at that meeting at 12:30 on June 6th, the Finance Committee meeting. So got that going on. And then number 8 is summer school preparations, and Ms. Sands is going to give us an update. Yes, we are live streaming.
Or I didn't prepare anything besides my notes.
Use the microphone.
With the button on.
Okay. Hi guys, I am in charge of summer school for this year, so Mr. Henriksen asked me just to share some basic information with you. There's nothing up there to share, it's just in my notebook. So summer school runs June 9th through 27th. This year it is Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 11:30. Right now we have 87 students registered. Last year we had 92 students that said they were going to come, so we're pretty close. Registration was supposed to be done on Friday, but that's, it's not final, so I'm sure we'll get a couple more students that will get registered. It is at Van Allen this year. Students come from 8:30 to 11:30, and their day consists of a morning meeting. We spend 60 minutes on literacy, 60 minutes on math. We have a STEM room where actually Dr. Butler's been very nice to approve me having a teacher just for the STEM. So she teaches all kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, a half hour at each grade level. And she's dedicated to the plans for STEM. And the teachers stay in there and help because it can get quite active, but it's nice that just to have one teacher dedicated to that because it does take quite a bit of prep and work for those activities. And then the only other thing, we have recess for 15 minutes, so they have that schedule. We have 10 teachers, like I said, the one for STEM. We have also 10 paras, and 2 of those paras this year are coming from the middle school. Without having any middle school or high school summer school this year, we opened it up to everyone. So we do have 2 middle school paras that will be joining us in the elementary. And then the nurses always share it half and half. So it's they just choose which days they want there, who's going to be there. And then, so I guess I told you our numbers, but for grade levels, we have 14 registered for kindergarten. We have 24 for first, 12 for second, 20 for third, and 17 for fourth, which is one of our higher numbers of summers. Fourth grade, usually they start to dwindle. But this year we have 17 for fourth. So now I'm just working on trying to decide how many teachers to put in each grade level and what student or what paras to put with each grade level. And then a lot of times it's the same thing. Since I've done it for so many years, we just copy and paste the same schedule. It seems to run smooth. Need to work with our transportation to figure that out for our kids, and then we'll be good to go. What questions do you have?
I'm so bad. I assume families are then invited or notified when their students.
Okay, so what we do for that is we don't have it open to everyone because that's a lot. But what we do is we send out, like invitations or letters to students who are below benchmark for like what Title I was just talking about, our students who are persistently at risk in reading, and then in math for the iReady diagnostic, it's if they fall below the 20th percentile, then, so it's either or both if they are in both. And yeah, we send it out on Infinite Campus, and then I enlisted teachers to help with the students in their room to contact their parents. Anything else? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Katie. Number 9 is the IASB Summit on Student Success. You've got information in your packet about that. The main speaker, Stephen Sorka, The Power of Many, Creating a Culture of Belonging for Student Success. So you can read through that. The summit is actually, I'm missing the front page there, but the summit is Wednesday, June 11th from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So if you would like to go, let me know and we will get you registered. I know Angie wants to go. I plan to attend, and so if anybody wants to go to the Summit on Student Success, Wednesday, June 11th, please let me know. I will be registered for that. Number 10, the summer school board, the summer school board meeting schedule. So we will not have a work session in May, because that date would fall, that fourth Monday is Memorial Day, so we don't have a work session in May. We will have committee meetings in June. So the first Thursday and Friday we'll have committee meetings in June. We'll have our regular school board meeting the second Monday in June. No work session in June. No committee meetings in July, just a regular board meeting in July, and no work session in July. Then we'll be back to a regular schedule in August. Now, we may want to get together. If the board president wants to get us together, we can certainly do that. But that's the schedule. Committee meetings in June, regular board meeting in June, but no work session. A regular board meeting in July, no committee meetings, no work session, and back to a regular schedule in August. Number 11, a legislative update. I'll go through this quickly with you. We met last week as a superintendent's group from Great Prairie AEA. There hasn't been in the last 10 days or so a lot of activity at the Capitol. Margaret Buckton, who is with Rural Schools of Iowa, and she's also with IFSIS, she spoke to us. The property tax bill, the closer we get to the end here, the less likely I think that property tax reform on a large scale is going to pass. The thing that we need to pay attention to on that is a couple of things. This new version of the bill, it phases out the rollback on property tax on the residential rollback over 10 years, and then it sets 75% of assessed valuation as a maximum, and they would get to that over a 10-year period. Okay, so it phases out the rollback, and then the max amount of property tax you would pay over that, or at the end of that 10-year period, would be 75% of assessed valuation. Some other changes in the bill and how that would affect us. The current version sets the current version that is being discussed. It sets the board PEPL at 24 cents instead of 33 cents. So you have a reduction in your PEPL amount, and then the current version sets the voted PEPL at $1.18 instead of $1.34. So for us, that's would be about 70% of our current PEPL, which is right at about $1 million when you combine the two.
That's at year 10 after.
I don't think that's phased in, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was immediate.
I don't think that part is phased in. Okay. So it would reduce our PEPL, from around that million, $1.2 million to about 70% of that. Bond issue, general obligation bond issue limits. would go to $1.89 instead of the $2.70, and then it would go to $2.84 instead of the $4.05.
Yeah, immediate.
I've not heard that that's phased in.
Even with, because the rollback's going to be phased in, right?
Correct.
So you're going to see an immediate drop, and even if the rollback stays the same, you're seeing an immediate drop.
That's correct. That's correct. So I think the things, Josh, that we discussed with Tim Oswald at Piper Jaffray was the idea, the complication or the issue that if you pass a bond, a general obligation bond, let's say this November, does the language of this bill go into effect right away? Now we know it doesn't if the bonds are sold. However, if you're waiting to sell those bonds, then you would be subject to these amounts. The capacity on PEPL is the real problem. What they told us was that because of the way things are structured, 13 districts would lose between 0 and 10% of their PEPL dollars. 185 districts would lose between 10 and 20%, and 122 districts would lose between 20 and 30% of their PEPL funding, which is, well, if you do the math on that, I'm going to say we're between that 25 and 30% on because we are the total $1.67 for PEPL. We're 33% board approved, and then $1.34 voter approved. So it's the $1.67.
I think at that meeting you were saying 20% is what he was saying at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
Or maybe that was the line.
I think I do believe what the lobbyists are telling us is this is just a matter of time. If this reform doesn't happen this legislative season, it'll happen next legislative season. So it'd be important to advocate for our school districts even during the off time of the legislative session. The management fund, the issue here is that many districts have ending balances that exceed 100% of their fiscal year 25 total expenditures. Some of them exceed, instead of 100%, there's districts that are as high as 600% beyond their expenditures. Mount Pleasant is not one of those districts. We run pretty lean in our management fund. The language of the bill, because management is a property tax, management funds are a property tax levy, would require the SBRC School Budget Review Committee to review the balance and determine the appropriateness of the unexpended balance. That's what the language of the bill says. Some reasons why an appropriate management fund balance is necessary. Well, obviously we don't know what property and casualty premiums, what they're going to be, and they increase after budgets are already set. We do have to reserve, we have to have some kind of reserve for deductibles for wind and hail, which are now required. So if we had a wind and hail event, the amount that the district would pay, 1% of total value is, for our high school would be over $300,000. So it's important to have a balance there. You never know if you're going to have litigation. You never know what kind of workers' comp claims that you're going to have. Planning for early retirement could be an issue, or could be a reason as well. So now, does that require 600% of previous year's expenditures? Probably does not. But they are looking hard at management fund balances. Dave Doughton gave an update on some other things that were less financial. The electronic devices in school has been signed, so that bill is became law. We're waiting for sample policy from the School Board Association. We have not seen that yet. The Department of Education has put policy out, but we haven't seen anything from IASB yet, so I look for that soon so that we can review it and get that as part of our policy and into our handbooks. There were some chronic absenteeism fixes that has been signed. It had to do with, one of the main things was sending letters to families by registered mail, which has been really not what they intended, because we just got so many of those letters returned. So anyway, that's a fix. And they did approve year-round school calendar for the high school level. So it's always been, not always, but elementary has been, you could run year-round school in elementary, but not for the high school level. So that was approved by the governor. Excuse me. She is expected to sign the SSA bill. And just a few of these things I share with you because the districts are going to have to do more. Seizure training for staff, when a student has a seizure, how we respond to that, that's expected to be signed. Human growth and development requirements, some changes there is expected to be signed. The changes in open meetings, it increases potential fines for board members if open meetings laws are violated. That's expected to be signed. This is actually a good one, and I would say that we have definitely had a hand in this school dropouts not being counted twice. Currently, if a student drops out of school, it's counted, obviously, as a dropout. But if that student drops back in, and let's say, in our system, maybe they're going to try Wisdom Quest, and so they drop back in to Wisdom Quest. And if they don't make it, well, they're counted again as a dropout. So that is being changed. And we really advocated with our legislators that needed to be changed. So that's good. Civics tests to graduate, that would start in July of 2026, so not this next year, but the following year. A civics test for graduation is expected to be signed into law. Math counts, just like the literacy plans, math plans, that is expected to be signed, so students would have individual math plans. And then the definition for bullying, I think I did mention that to you as we looked at our 100 series. We'll go ahead and approve the 100 series as it sits tonight, but they eliminated a number of the classes in bullying with the idea of just saying, well, hey, bullying is bullying. It doesn't matter what class of people you're in, bullying is bullying, and that's how they're approaching the definition. So all of those are expected to be signed. And then a couple of things that are still alive. Bus driver training, that will potentially increase the number of drivers for districts. And then the $14 million for support staff. There's been some back and forth. The House really wants to see that done. They've been pushing back against the governor on that. The governor does not have that in her bill. And so we'll see where that lands. So that's the legislative update.
Thank you very much, John. Up next, we have board committee reports, and we're going to lead off with the finance. These are all listed electronically on the school board's website under the board tab in an attachment to the agenda here tonight. We are going to try and make a point of going through some more of these bullet points as John is pulling them up. I've got finance committee first on the agenda, John.
Yep.
Josh, do you have anything from that meeting?
Yeah, so I guess, like Derek said, to be more open and transparent, we'll kind of go through this a little bit more, have more discussion, I guess. Finance committee, Lynn from our homeschool assistance program came, and we spent quite a bit of time talking about the potential 28E agreement that would allow students to come utilize our homeschool assistance program from, I think we're thinking more surrounding communities, more local, closer to Mount Pleasant. This could bring in more kids that are now in like middle school, high school, that they're not in the homeschool assistance program, say because they're from New London, and they want to play sports in New London. So right now they're doing their homeschool assistance program in New London, if they even have one, and playing sports there. With the 28E agreement, they can use our homeschool assistance program and still play their sports for New London. That's just the school example, so that's kind of area. So we spent quite a bit of time on that. Financially, we're good with the homeschool assistance program. Funds were flush with money. We were talking about we were already talking about adding another half a person. Looking at the numbers, we thought, should we just jump that up to a full person? So we're kind of fleshing that out. See if we go from 2.5 to 3, I believe. Well, currently 2. 2, maybe 2.5,
right.
Maybe 3. So that's what we spent quite a bit of time with there. We then went through our expenditures, obviously spent some time there, and had discussion about classroom sizes, and maybe if the board wants to come with a suggestion of what we would like to see classroom sizes in the Mount Pleasant Community School District be kind of a range in that. So those were the few things I was there for. I have to leave 2 kids, but they did talk about the IJAG. Derek or John, do you want to say something about that since I wasn't there?
Yeah, the IJAG memorandum of understanding is in our new business. No changes to the language there. Actually, no change to the cost either. We pay $25,000 for each level of programming. Middle school, 9th and 10th grade, and then 11th and 12th grade. So for a total of $75,000. And then the state and businesses pick up the other part of that. So it's a great program. It's a great bargain for the school district to serve a lot of kids. So that will be in our new business.
And then moving on to the policy committee, that was the longest policy committee meeting that I've been at. And we were joined by Dr. Butler to begin with, the director of curriculum. So went over middle school English language arts curriculum. Previously, there hasn't been any paid for curriculum for that age group. We do have an elementary ELA, elementary math. So I see this as a big benefit for our students, benefit for our teachers. It is $28,000 per year. So we did have a few questions there that we talked about. The next bullet point is we discussed a 28E agreement with the Burlington Community School District for a VIBE program. And that's an online curriculum program. More to come for that. We also had an open enrollment request. We reviewed board policy 501.10, insufficient classroom space, and that's coming up in open enrollment. The next bullet point is the board policy series 100. So we are going to align that with the Iowa Association of School Boards policy. We have 3 things underlined there. Yeah, 101, we definitely wanted to keep our current 100 policy, which has our mission and vision statement. 104, we need to get this updated on our... And we're time out for a delay.
We can follow like fire drill code.
I think we
Can you tell
So there's elementary kids or that's probably Continuing on real fast, it was mentioned that we need to remind the administrators the policy number will need updated in the handbooks. 104R1, it was mentioned that a new level 1 investigator will need to be appointed due to a retirement, a well-deserved retirement. That last bullet point on that page, Mr. Hendrickson let the committee know that he received a request from a teacher to waive the March 1st resignation notification deadline. That's coming up in personnel. So then moving on to the site committee, we did have significant discussion with the results of the master plan survey data, and a new timeline regarding the master plan will need to be developed. Several items at Central Campus, the rooftop units should be getting worked on here real soon. And then the committee discussed the timeline necessary to move district offices to the Central Campus site. So that would include the central office and homeschool assistants. Last bullet point there, the committee discussed the location of Wisdom Quest Alternative High School, with new construction at the high school site being cost prohibitive of nearly over $1 million. The board was open to the second floor of the Howe Activity Center on Central Campus. Mr. Rogers, Mr. Benghaus, and Coach Russo have all went and looked at that, and that is coming up in new business also. Anything from anybody else about the committee meetings? Moving on to number 10 on the agenda, other board communications. Does anybody have anything?
I would just like to mention and thank the FFA group for sending out about 15 kids to the Harlan Lincoln House to tear out plants last Thursday morning. My wife was kind of in charge of the planting detail, and all of a sudden we had about 15 FFA kids show up, and within an hour they had removed all the plants that needed to be removed.
That's great.
So a big thank you to that group.
And I just wanted to kind of reiterate what both Josh and Derek have said. You know, we've really listened to the survey results and everything that was presented to us as we process all of that. We want to improve on transparency. So we're going to do more things like we just did, kind of go more through the committee reports, and we look forward to the seating of the new board member so that we can really dive into the survey results and make a plan moving forward. But that hasn't been ignored. We're not flying past that. We're all taking a lot of thought in the meantime and getting ready to make a plan with the new board member.
So up next on the agenda is number 11, consent items. Let's take these individually. So first off, we have the personnel report. Is there a motion to approve the personnel report?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Suga.
Yes.
Up next, we have open enrollment.
Okay, so I would bring to your attention, we changed the format of this at the suggestion of the board president, Angie Blinn. I think it's a great idea. Everything on the top of the form is a recommendation to approve. And you can see over here in the notes that it was either, their application was either approved by both districts, was received on time, they met the deadline. If it says change in residence, it means that that student was living in Mount Pleasant, moved to another district, but wants to open enroll back to Mount Pleasant. So all of those are are recommendations to approve the above open enrollments, and we do have on this list, I want to point out, a recommendation to deny. We had significant discussion about this in our policy committee meeting. The recommendation is made based on insufficient classroom space, board policy that governs insufficient classroom space. So I would recommend that you approve this open enrollment agenda as listed.
Any further discussion or questions? Is there a motion to approve open enrollment?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Jessica, roll call?
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Singa.
Yes.
We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. Up first. Consideration to approve first reading of School Board Policy 100 Series Educational Philosophy.
Okay, so we spent significant time on this at the policy committee meeting. I won't go over each individual policy unless you'd like me to, or if you have comments on it. I did make the changes that were recommended, or the change that was recommended, and that is in policy 101, educational philosophy of the district. We wanted to make sure that we preserved the mission statement and the vision statement from the previous policy, so we decided that they best fit in policy 101, educational philosophy of the district. So all of the other policies are as we discussed them at the meeting, at our policy committee meeting. So unless you have questions, I would recommend that you approve first reading of the 101 series.
Any questions? Motion to approve the first reading of School Board Policy 100 Series Educational Philosophy.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Singa.
Yes.
Up next is consideration to approve adoption of middle school English language arts curriculum.
Okay, and we had significant discussion about this at our committee meeting. Mark or Dr. Butler, do you have anything you'd like to say before we put it to the board?
Well, just that the program we looked at for well vetted, we talked to the ADA, maybe you already know this with your policy.
So do it from mic.
I'm sorry.
Microphone so they can hear you.
Oh, sure.
We are live streaming.
Yeah, I just want to say that all the programs we looked at, we reached out to Kara Beach at our AEA, and she gave us recommendations. So they're all research-based, evidence-based. And then really I just opened it up to the English teachers. We met, we looked at samples, we met with the reps. I didn't look at, like the cost was not something I looked at. That went to Dr. Butler. So we just went with what the teachers wanted. We thought we had the best resources, took our time, and we spent over a year looking at resources and samples. And so we landed on Study Sync McGraw-Hill. I feel like it's a really solid program. And it will help us have a guaranteed viable curriculum moving forward so that all students will have a shared experience. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Dr. Butler, were you able to answer some of those questions we had at the meetings regarding iPad?
The questions were, one of them was about the online, whether or not they were going to access the
chapter books online and whether that was going to affect the iPads going home. And I believe the answer was we're not going to use the online digital chapter books. We're going to use the chapter books that we have for the time being and then determine if we're going to need to purchase additional chapter books once we reach another program.
Okay.
Another question was, were there conversations at the secondary level as we started to look at the materials? And I believe the answer to that was we had conversations about what they were using material-wise at the high school, but not conversations specifically with the staff. Just explain what they were using to see what kind of vertical alignment there was. There's not a curriculum, a purchased curriculum at the high school. They're doing what the middle school has been doing in the past and pulling from different sources to meet the needs.
Is that something we might be looking at in the future? So there is more vertical alignment?
Not a discussion we've had yet, but it's absolutely a discussion we can certainly have. And then the third question was, just forgot the third question.
Are other area school districts using the same curriculum?
I don't believe that's a conversation that we had. No, not something that we've explored. Are there other questions?
Mark, your background is ELA, right? Okay, so you have some expertise in that as well.
It was very solid curriculum. It's very solid curriculum. It offers a number of resources for differentiation. It allows teachers to set like the core readings. You can, if you got a student who comes to us maybe with a third or fourth grade reading level, we can adjust the readings appropriately. We've got Spanish versions. We've got the ability for students to follow along and listen as they read. So it's just a lot of good resources that I think will benefit teachers and students. Engaging content.
Yep, that's good to hear. Any other questions?
I just want to add, I think it's pretty powerful that the teachers themselves are the ones that wanted to explore this, and they are fully invested since they're the ones that vetted and selected. So that's exciting right there.
Yep, thanks, Mark. Dr. Butler. Is there a motion to approve adoption of middle school English language arts curriculum?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'd second.
Roll call.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Sega. Yes.
Up next is consideration to approve the 2025-2026 IJAG Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah, so you have that in your packets. Again, there's no change to the language, no change to the cost to our district. $25,000 for each level of programming for a total of $75,000. Would recommend that you approve.
Do we know how much the other share is? What the state and businesses put in?
It's a third of 25,000 each.
Is there a motion to approve the 2025-2026 IJAG Memorandum of Understanding?
I so moved.
Second.
Second.
Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Sega.
Yes.
Letter D, consideration to approve Wisdom Quest Alternative High School location change to Central Campus.
Again, something that we talked about at length in our in our site committee meeting, based on really two things. One is the cost for new construction right now. The square footage, of the building that we were going to build put the cost at somewhere around $1 million, or right around $1 million. The second thing is we would like to, as we open the new transportation, buildings, grounds, and central receiving facility, we're going to vacate the building that those folks are in. Wisdom Quest is in that building as well. The idea would be to completely vacate that building and move to that second floor of the activity center on Central Campus. as mentioned in the committee meeting, Principal Tyler Rogers, Chad Vinghouse, Rocco Russo met over there last week to determine the viability of that. They felt like it would be a really great space for that programming. We're meeting over there again tomorrow morning at 8:30 to go through the details on what it's going to take to make that transition. So I would recommend that you approve.
Do we have a time frame on that?
We would like to, Melinda. We would really like to be in there in the fall. Kind of depends on how quickly we can get some things done with technology. Specifically the door operating systems, fobbing in and being able to open the doors remotely by the teachers. So this fall, yes.
I would just like to say we had budgeted $400,000 for
$450,000. Yeah.
And $450. With the bids coming in at $1 million, this option, I don't think we're going to be taking even close to that 450 to get them moved over. The space is pretty well set up for it, so it's a pretty quick. That's our thoughts right now, right? Obviously, we need to get some people in there, just see what costs will be for the little bit of changes that we have to have, but hopefully significantly under the 450. I think to get us out of that building, like we're hoping to for everything else, just makes sense. So.
I did talk to Coach Russo, and he thought that the space like we're talking about would be adequate, but also the privacy rooms, that there would be the private rooms for those students to go meet with counselors, with the needs that those students have. Obviously, gym and walking track for a little bit of a little breaks too. Would this cause any issues with a downstairs remodel? If they're occupying upstairs, would there be any issues with the downstairs remodel?
Yeah, I asked that question of Chad some time ago, but I will make sure to go over that with him as well. I mean, the work that's being done in the how is will be completed this summer with the rooftop units, and then the duct work for the east hallway and the south hallway really isn't going to affect. It's not going to affect that area, so we should be in good shape.
I know we've had students there for sporting events. Does having an educational curriculum there change anything insurance-wise?
Yep, that's a good point as well. We will now be occupied as a definition for insurance. We will be occupied. I talked to our insurance representative about that. And so we will have to wait. The renewal comes up in January. And so those buildings are insured as a group of buildings. So when the insurance renewal comes up, we'll be able to drop the activity center off of the secondary insurance, and EMC will pick that up because the building will now be occupied and it will be less cost to us.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the Wisdom Quest Alternative High School location change to Central Campus?
I would so move.
Second. Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Stigback. Yes.
Letter E, the concrete bids have already been talked about. We will table that item and move on to letter F, consideration to approve the transportation facilities change order.
Had a change order for the transportation facility in the wash, not in the wash bay, but actually in the wash area for the bus garage. They need to move the HOTSI unit that provides the hot water and the soap. They've got to do some additional electrical work and running the wire a bit differently for a total cost of $678.05. Would recommend that you approve. And by the way, there's a progress meeting on Thursday at 10 a.m. Anyway, sorry about that, but I would recommend that you approve.
Hopefully the last progress meeting.
Yeah.
Yep, already. Any questions with the change order?
Why the change? Isn't this something that could have been planned out or no?
Apparently, where the hot seat is located in that room, it's a small room off the wash area, and they want to be able to walk around it, and so they're moving it from the wall. It takes. They're going to have to run the wire differently. So.
I mean, that's been an area that was worked on a little bit to have that room separate, to have an air handler up above it also. So yeah, just an area that they've really tried to make the best possible. Is there a motion to approve the transportation facility change order?
So
Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Hustenka. Yes.
Next is the consideration to approve early retirement policy waiver and employee early retirement application.
Okay, so just so you're aware, again, as per the committee meeting, we had a teacher who qualifies for the retirement and the payout of unused sick leave days, and decided that he would like to go ahead and retire. And so I pulled up the policy. I did have our attorney review this before I brought it to you, and I highlighted the language here in the policy. The board reserves the right to amend or revoke this retirement policy or any provision of this policy at any time, with or without notice. The board also reserves the right to waive any requirement or condition of this policy at its discretion at any time. So what you would be waiving is the March 1 deadline that we put on this to accommodate the request by this teacher. You would be waiving the March 1 deadline, which, as per the language, you have the right to do that. And so, Eric, I've got it in your packet is the request, and you can read that as the request from that's it right there. That's the request that the board would be approving or recommended to approve. You can, yes, yep.
So the request is pursuant to the authority granted to the board in policy 407.06, move to waive the timeline requirement for the district's early retirement incentive policy and grant the early retirement application of Michael Beeson as presented, effective at the end of the 2024-2025 school year. Is there a motion to approve?
So I'm just going to be a stickler with this. Recently, we've been sticklers with kids and missing the deadline for open enrollment. You know, if we wrote it in here for this year, I would be a stickler with the timeline again for this. If we're going to uphold the kids and their sports to the timeline, I think we can uphold staff to the same timelines we set. It's not to mean that we can't change it for next year, but we had a timeline and a date, so. Fine, 2 cents.
And part of my idea is that this is the first year that we've had this incentive.
And we only had about a 2-week 3-week period.
It was a shorter amount of time. I don't know the exact amount of time.
Yep.
Any other questions, discussions? Is there a motion to approve the early retirement policy waiver and employee early retirement application?
I'll make that motion that we approve waiving this timeline requirement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
No.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
No.
Husinka.
Yes.
That moves us to our last item, letter H, that was added to the agenda. Consideration to approve 28E agreement with the City of Mount Pleasant for the school resource officer.
Let's see here, 25-26 agreement, no language changes. It's the same 28E as we've had for the last 2.5 years. The cost of the program to the district, I'll get to that page, that's what's in your packet there. The break, the time breakdown is 70% of Officer Gillis's time is spent at the district. And then 30% when, in the summer months, he's working for the city. So we, of the total full package of $102,236, 70% of that cost, the district would cover $71,565. It's about a $2,000 increase from the previous year. Would recommend that you approve.
I'd vote to approve.
Second.
Second.
Jessica, roll call, please.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinka. Yes.
And that concludes our agenda. One announcement is our 7th and 8th grade girls track teams are conference champions. Just tonight down in Keokuk. And our boys varsity soccer are conference champions as well. So with that, I will adjourn us at 8:02.